Okay, we're up to Daf Pay. Today's Daf is Pay Dalid. We're up to Pay Gimel on the base. This Chazara Avram Yuwaner is chazing Daf with anybody who's interested in yesterday's Daf. He's going to give, take the chart out and explain it to everybody. I'll corrupt 5 lines off from the bottom. Boy mine Rav Omer of Nachman. Okay, so we're in the sugya of shir. A person's mishaya beget. You give a get, and you're leaving somebody out. Rabbi Eliezer was mechadish that it's good get. We saw yesterday's daf. We had four tanoim with big questions on him. We had questions on 4 tanoim. We said whether speaking chutz or almanas. So boy mine Rav Omer of Nachman. Here's a conversation that takes place between Rav and Rav Nachman. Yomi yat ishti. Today you're not my wife. Ulamachar ad ishti. And tomorrow you are my wife. Let's see. Boy, minute. Rabbi Stefanski.
I can ask the rabbi that question.
Barabim. He said, "Kids to marry you off." I don't think he should. So, boy, me Rav Nachman. Hayom yat ishti. Someone says, "Hayom today, yat ishti. You're not my wife." However, tomorrow you are my wife. Mahu, what's the din? Tiboy Rabbi Eliezer who says you can be Meshayir beget, and Tiboy Rabbanan who says no, that the get has to be korest completely between you and your wife. Tiboy Rabbi Eliezer. Ad kan Harold. Ad kan loy ka'ama Rabbi Eliezer Hasam. Ella dilaman de kashari liolam. In other words, what was the case? You're divorced from everybody in the world except Shimon, right? Shimon's our classic guy, right? You're divorced from everyone in the world except Shimon. Okay? So over there, right? When you're going to matter the Shimon, it's forever. Over here, Aval Hacha, Loi. Over here, today, yes, tomorrow, not. It's not forever. Hayomi Yatishti, but not tomorrow. So maybe, in other words, this would not, Rabbi Eliezer would say this you could not do. Maybe there's no difference. There's no difference. In this case, when you cleave over, once you're leaving over, you leave over, even though it's not going to be permanent. The other extreme. In other words, over there, you never. Rashi says, Pascha, guys, bottom line. The Pascha mine hayoim legamri etzel kol adam, right? You're going to stop that day, right? The Pascha mine completely. Aval hacha kivin the Pascha. In other words, over there, you're not completely Pascha mine, because the fact that this person Shimon is connected, you still have a relationship to your old husband, correct? This is your get, except one guy, it's not your get. So you have a connection to your husband forever, vis-a-vis Shimon, that guy. Over here, when you tell them today you are completely, that's it. Today you're my wife, but tomorrow, right? Today you're not my wife. At this point in time, what? No one. At this point in time, there's no connection. When's the connection coming? When you say, but the next time will be my wife. So maybe the Chachamim would say over here, perhaps this would be a good get. Again, one more time. We know that we're machloking the Chachamim and Rebbe Eliezer. Says Rebbe Eliezer, yesh shir beget. You Meshayah beget. That, in other words, that you can give a get, and the get will be for the whole world except one person. Says the Chachamim, if you have one person connected, it's not a good. That you can't do, right? So now we're asking a shaila. What's the shaila? Today you're completely gone, but tomorrow you're my wife, right? So say we have a shaila, like Rebbe Eliezer. Maybe Eliezer says, when is that? When it's mutter to the whole world, right? Over here, not. So, or maybe there's no difference. Or like the Chachamim. Why the Chachamim say in the case of Shir, it's not a good get? Because Shimon is connected to Reuven's ex-wife through Reuven. Mashenkin over here, at the time when he says, today you're not my wife, and only tomorrow, at today, there's no connection whatsoever. So maybe the Chacham would be Moida. I will have to keep in the Pascha, Basa the boy, the Pashta, Stabra, Ben Rabbi Ben Rabbanon, keep in the Pascha. When she's a free woman, once she's Pasach, once she's no longer there, that's it. Once, right? That's it. and she's divorced what? Forever. Look at top places, guys. Mistaber ben Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbon and keeping the Pascha perish, umigureshes the oilam. And migureshes the oilam, in other words, even though you said tomorrow you're not my wife, it's you disregarded, keeping the Pascha, you're out. She's out. How you say Gitech al menashet tinasir reploini. No, he's not remarrying her. He's saying the get is now, but tomorrow you're my wife again without giving a new kedushin. No, you're not giving a new kedushin. Okay.
So I'm saying, so she gets married the next, right after, that day, somebody else is a kedushin. That guy, Lamacha, wouldn't mean anything anyways, right?
No.
He connects.
No. I would perhaps disagree, because if she doesn't stay married to her husband, the get wasn't a get. She married somebody else. It's a tonight. Today you're my wife. But she but she accepts kedushin. But what's the tonight? But tomorrow,
I'm back with you. So
you want to say if you accept kedushin from somebody else, but what second? Tomorrow I'm not back with you, so it was never a get. I'm saying that's the he's going the half mina. This is not, he's asking the half mina. Like the half mina, he wants to say, like the tzad, you're saying that what? Today is a get, and tomorrow not. What happens if today she accepts kedushin from somebody else? So I think, again, I hear you, Kasha, but I would think that since it's Messiah, if you're going to say it does work, it doesn't work. So it's not a shayla, it's a moot point. But if it, you understand, I'm telling you, Hesh, because the next day the gets get you want to come to Tanai, Lama Freya, she was never divorced. So again, so I'm not sure. Okay, anyway.
Right? If he had kedushin in between, if that guy was Mekadosh another lane before he came.
That's okay. So that's the case by David Amelech. We spoke out many times in Shabbos and recently when they went to war. Did they divorce outright or did they divorce on a condition? Why did she both say Yomim? So Rashi said she's an Ashes, a Suffolk Ashes. Places said she's what? She's free. Okay, that was the case. Okay. Not gaining. We're asking hypothetically. Here's the case. In other words, we know there's something Mishaya beget. In other words, so based upon what we are asking a question, based upon what we perceived until now, why would the din be over here? Nothing to gain over here, but what's the din? What's the din? This is your get on the condition that you marry so and so. Guys, very, very tifa gemara. This is your get. So I give a get, and you have to marry Shimon. Yeah, this is the opposite until now. This is your get, the only one you can marry. This is the opposite. This is your get that, and you have to marry Shimon. She shouldn't get married. The Nises, and if she gets married, she doesn't go out. Now, so let's see who can she marry, and who, if she does marry, she doesn't leave. So we're gonna have three possibilities. We're going to slug up the first two and agree on the last one. Okay. What exactly did it was an ambiguous statement. When you give pronouns, right, you got to fill in the pronouns. Who's the he and who's the what?
Take a picture of it and send it to Shira. Which is not a normal amount of shares.
Oh, was that a Rabbi?
We're about 3/4 of the Gemara.
Yeah, you guys in the yeshiva, like, why do you have to learn the Gemara? Why do you have to know the questions, the answer? When did you get right? Huh?
It's gonna be take what you're saying.
I think it's a good question. Why don't you go ask Rabbi Stefanski?
I won't be over there. There's props, I heard.
We also have props.
He's right there, the big. There's a picture of Robert right in front.
Anyway, so guys, so this is the opposite case. This is you get on the condition that what? That you have to marry this guy. It says you can't get married, and if you get married, don't go. Now, my comment, some of Nachman, Hachi Kamar, Harizu loy tinase, you shouldn't get married, loy, you shouldn't get married to Shimon. Okay, why not? Shema Yomru, Nishayim Toisnim Matana. It's not nice. It's disgusting. Not nice.
Maybe it wasn't a gift.
It's really not geschmack at all, right? Look, if you look at Rashi, look at second line Rashi. Second line Rashi. Loi tina say loi, do not marry Shimon. Again, Shimon is the guy that she has to marry. Kin mefarish Shema yomrun is shasayim noisnim matana. The aim lechalaz gadol mizeh. It's a little more than not nice. It's like Rashi. The aim lechalaz gadol mizeh. This is disgusting. This is really like. In other words, they're going to say if they say this laz, this is the worst thing. That a man goes ahead and is giving away his wife. That's mamish. Yeah. However, so what does it mean? What does it mean when he says, what does it mean you can't get married? You can't get married Shimon. The nises la'acher, but if you marry Yanko, you marry somebody else, let's say, you don't leave. Let's say, okay, you don't want, you can't leave. Now, umishum gezera, loy mafkina minei, because of a gezera, we're not going to go ahead, right? We will not take him out. Alma. 1 second over here. You didn't finish. You got divorced on a condition that you marry who? Shimon. You went ahead and married Yankel. And let's say why? You didn't fulfill it tonight. How can you matter an Ish? So this half a mina is a really very, very shver half mina. So if you look at Tosfos, guys, Tosfos tells you a chiddush. It's in the second Tosfos. We didn't get to it yet, but look what Tosfos says. V'yeshleimar the meikara. That means right now the meikara savar the afge rabbanon kiddushin minei. That the rabbanon went ahead. It's funny, the last time we also had the same thing. That the rabbanon went ahead and the mafka the kiddushin. They went ahead and they took the money and in other words they dissolved the marriage. They dissolved the marriage. In other words, ad kedei kach they would dissolve the marriage, right? And why did they say in the end? It doesn't make sense just because of chashash of a laz, they should dissolve the marriage. So therefore, this is the shak of Italia. So in the havamina, guys, this is very shvera havamina. Right? So Ella, in other words, so this is not going to wash, guys. So again, there's two things over here, fellas, outside. Eye contact. One, you can't marry Shimon. You can't get married. And two, but if you do marry, you don't leave. So right now, the first case was you can't marry Shimon because of the laz. But if you marry somebody else, you shouldn't leave. Fred Gemara, that's not, what do you mean you shouldn't leave? You shouldn't leave? How can you not leave? You didn't fulfill it tonight. So that can't be the shot in the brisa. That can't be. Hang in there. Ella Amar of Nachmin, Hachi Kamar. Harizu loy tinase, loy, you can't marry who? Shimon. Shema Yomun Hashem less than Matana. However, v'nisas loy. So now we're changing. You didn't marry Yankel, you married Shimon. Loy say. Why? You shouldn't the gezerah loy mafkinan. Just because the gezerah that maybe people shouldn't say, we're not going to let them go out. Good. Amar le Rava, Rav Nachman. Rava says Rav Nachman, loy hud loy tinase. Mashma to him loy tinase. Hola acher tinase. Mashma. You shouldn't marry Shimon. Why? Because of gezerah, what they might say. What's the diak? But to somebody else you could get married. But boy, you have to fulfill the Tanah. Now I have to tell you right now, it's bothered me very much. How could you marry somebody else? There's a condition. You only marry this guy. How can you marry somebody else? So what does the Gemara say? Fear the Gemara. So you know what you're going to do? So what is it? The chitema efsha de minsava hayoim umigar shalamachar. So marry Yankel. You'll fulfill the Tanai at some later date. It'll be a good get. Umekayim with Tanai. Good? No. No. Yeah. You'll right Megar shalamachar, and then you marry Shimon and fulfill the Tanai. Okay. In other words, but how could you do that? 1 second. How can I marry somebody else? The get was given that you should marry Shimon, right? Guys, you got it? So you hear the kasha. How could you marry somebody else? So listen to a very, very nice, guys, listen carefully. Listen to the Lashon, tell me the difference. Guys, don't look at anything. Listen to me well. Listen to it's little Hebrew, but listen to the difference. The Baal did not say, Shaloi tinase ella l'Shimon. If he would have said, this is your get on the condition that the only person you can marry is Shimon, then that would be a moot point. She can only, this would not exist, correct? Because the only person you can marry is Shimon. What did he say? He said, This is your get almanas that you marry Shimon. That could be when? Eventually. This is your get. There's a difference in the lashon of the Tanai. It's a very darkistic a difference, but in English, listen to it in English. This is your get on the condition that you only marry Shimon. This is your get that you marry Shimon. Got it? If it's the first way, of course the Gemara, it's not possible to marry Yankel and then get divorced and marry Shimon, right? Why? Because the Tanai was, this is your get if you only marry Shimon. What are you saying? This is your get that you marry Shimon. When? At some point, marry Shimon, fulfill the Tanai, and everything will be okay. The get will be a get, and you can be married to what? To the uncle. Yeah. What? Again, we had that we had that Gemara earlier. We had that Gemara. We've been there. That ship sailed. We did that already. We did that already. That was earlier. We dies. We chayish lemisa. What's the din? Then we had that was the first Gemara. So again, there's a difference. In other words, in the words of Tanai, I'm not saying you can't marry anybody else. I'm just saying at some point you should marry. So that's what the Gemara is saying now. Now, if you're going to say that, now what about how could you marry Shimon then? Or aren't you worried about what? That you're giving your wife as a matana? What's the answer? Since Yankel's in between, you're not going to say it. Since Yankel's in between, you're not going to say it. That's Taisus, guys. So, what? It's a drei?
Yeah.
It's geschmack.
Yeah. And it's always hanging out that she has to marry Shimon at some point.
Good. Look at the third Taisus down. The hashle shayach shema yomun is the same nice than matana. Even the nisas la'achar ben tayim. Since you're going ahead, Ronnie, and you're marrying someone in between. So therefore, we're still groping to figure out what's the statement that it said you should marry him, and if you married, lo say. So we tried two approaches. Says the Gemara, here's the final approach. Now, before that, let's be medama the statement between Rabbi Yehuda and the statement, but machlokes of Yehuda Rav Nachman. Rav Yehuda seems to say that Rav Nachman seems to say do it and you fulfill the Tanai, and Rabbi Yehuda says no. Where we had this in the Darim. The Idmar. The plea led Rabbi Yehuda the Kamadamis lay the Idmar. Koinem einai b'shena yom. My eyes are koinem today, meaning it makes a neder I can't sleep today. In Ishon Lamachav I sleep tomorrow. So what do you do? I'm Rabbi Yehuda al Yishan. Do not sleep today. Shema Yishon Lamachar. Good. Don't marry Yankel. Maybe you won't marry Shimon. Good. Reb Nachman Amar Yishin Hayoim. Sleep today. Vein Chayshin Shema Yishon Lamachar. Marry Yankel, and what? And you'll then marry Shimon. Good. What's the difference, guys? What's the difference in Svara, guys? What's the difference between the ability to stay up and the ability to marry somebody else when you're a woman? It's not in your hands. It's not in your hands. You're a woman. I'll marry you. You'll divorce me, and then I'll marry somebody else. Bishlame to stay up. You know, there's ways to stay up. And this day, they take thorns. We drink coffee. We take face. What do people stay up with? Red Bull or that 5-hour energy, right? I have no. When you're old, you have no problem staying up. No problem falling asleep. Anyway, Hachi Hashta. Hasam bidi day kaima. Over there by sleeping, it's totally on him. If he wants, he can poke himself with thorns. But hacha is it on your hands to go ahead? What? So in other words, that's not comparable to what you want to say. Oh, today you'll get married and tomorrow you fulfill the tonight. So in other words, right now I don't have shot in the Bryce that we began with. What's the statement? The Bryce that we've been Tanner Abanon. Going back to the second line at the top. Who are we speaking about? Right? So it says the Gemara finally, Ella, you're right. Amarava. She shouldn't get married at all. She can marry Shimon. Why? You don't marry Shimon because people are going to say, "Well, you give away your wife," right? And you have to fulfill the Tanai. However, but if you do marry Shimon, right? Good. So, but just because of Gzeri won't let you leave Shimon. However, they'd say if you marry Yankel, you're gonna have to leave. The boy l'kiyum l'tanai. Hani kabasi the Rava. Haizuli tinasi l'loy v'loyachav. Mrs. Lay Tese l'achar Tese. I guess go back to the top. Go back to the top of the page. 2 lines from the top. Tan Rabbanan. Harizeh gitech almanash tinasi l'ploini. This is your get almanas that you marry Shimon. Harizul loy tinase. She should marry who? Shimon. Why? Gezerah, giving your wife is matana. Not somebody else. Why? You may not fulfill the tonight. It's not in your hands to fulfill tonight. The imnisas, if she marries what? Shimon, loy say, then you won't leave because of a tonight. The gezerah, because of the gezerah, we're not going to make you leave. However, if she marries what? An acher, then you're going to have to leave. You know why? Because maybe you won't fulfill the tonight. That's the pshat in the brisa. Guys, you good? Baruch Hashem.
The whole point, the flip flopper. At one point, Rashi says this first, so stark that we're afraid we're going to devastate the institution of marriage because they're going to create laws. And all of a sudden, okay, all right, so because of Xera, we don't do that.
She's an Ashes ish. Again, I could stop from a kedushin that I could stop in the first place, but once done, because of the gezerah, I'm not going to go ahead and make a leave. I can stop you from marriage taking place, but once the marriage takes place, it was kedas. It was kedas Yisrael. I mean, it's not nice, but the bottom line is it happened. It's what are you going to do? Say. I mean, in the Havamina was that you did have such a Havamina. Say, you have to leave. But reworking it, it makes little sense. Don't do it. But if you do it, this is your get on the condition that you go up to Shemayim. That you go ahead and you take a journey to the center of the earth. Almanash that you swallow a reed of 4 amos. Almanash ben kuf amma. Almanash that you bring to me a reed of 100 amos. Almanash ta'avri esayom agadol that you walk across the Mediterranean biraglecha on your feet. Ain't a get. Why? Because all these things are not possible. It's not a get. This Tanai is not a Tanai. It's not possible. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema Oimer, guys, important. Kizeh get. Like this, it would be a get. Because since it's not possible, he's just joshing with her. He just wants to be mitzayir her. He just wants to pain her. He doesn't mean this because he can't do this. So again, that's Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Loite chachamim, since it's not possible, you can't fulfill the Tanai, it's not a get. According to Yehuda ben Tema, he never meant it in the first place because it's impossible. Guys, it's very important to what I just told you. The rest of the Gemara is going to depend upon. So one more time. The Chachamim say when it's physically impossible, it's not a get, right? Because you can't fulfill it. So to Yehuda ben Tema, since it's physically impossible, he never meant it. And therefore it is a good get.
Saying he really wants to divorce his wife.
Yeah, he really wants to divorce her. Right. So you're giving her a hard time. What?
Wanted to say it, then you say he doesn't.
Then he won't give her a get in the first place. Then he wouldn't. No, Adarabah. If he didn't want to divorce her, don't give her a get. But if he just wants to be Messiah her, he really wants to divorce her, just Messiah her. Says no, klal kizeh get. Listen to the words. Kizeh get. Like this is a get. If it's such a physically impossibility to fulfill. Klal Omer Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema says the following rule. Kol tenai sheyev shalei l'kaimai b'soifai v'hisla mitchilasai eina ela kimafliga b'devarim. She's painting him with words. V'kasha. That's the klal that we just saw. Good. Now, Amrav Nachman, Amarav, halach Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. The halach is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. When you give a something that you can't fulfill, right? Then it's a good get because he just wants to mafliga. He just wants to paint her. Okay. Now, very interesting Gemara. Amrav Nachman by Yitzchak. Masnisa Namideka, the Mishnah in Sadik Dala, guys. This Mishnah is the last Mishnah in Seicher Sapoilim. The Mishnah is speaking about tonight. Shemachina makes it tonight not to swear. Shoel makes it tonight not to pay. Shemisacha makes it tonight not be chayv b'nei v'aveda. Masna mashkas b'Torah, and then it says the lashon kol she'ef shalei l'kaimei b'sleifai v'hisna b'tchilasai tana kayim. It's mashma any tonight that in the end. Your masna in the beginning, it's a very interesting Taisus for a second. Just for if you look at Taisus Almanasha Tali Rakia, ain't a get. Versachas Apoilim in the sugya there, B'Sleifai Garcinon, in the Skyma Tanai, how is a get? So the guy says, this is your get if you go up to Shemayim. If you fulfill it, it's a good get. But the one of them get for Tema. How can you go up to Shemayim? So Bisman Azel, right? Yeshleimar, Al Yidei Shem. The Shem I'm Firish, right? Asor Megamalchus, Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha, he said the Shem went up, Lache Pargit. Okay, just it's in other words, everything is possible. Huh? So now, Iboilahu. So guys, a physical impossibility, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema says what? Is a good get, and the Chacham say no, it's not a good get. Harizagitech, this is your get. Al menash shetochli basa chazer. This is your get that you should eat chazer. Now, l'chayra, is this similar to? It's what? Well, in other words, yeah. Here's the question. We'll get to Mas in a second. We'll get to that in a second. But here's the question: when Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema said it's a get because it's a physical impossibility, what about a halachic impossibility? What about physically you can do it, but halacha you can't?
But yesterday, the guy was boiled on the same idea. That he couldn't marry, he was
No, it's us. It asib is nus. It asib is nus, right? So now
It can't be Masa Amashikasa Bato.
hang on. The Gemara is going to ask on the other base. The Gemara is going to ask on the other base. Amar Abaya, Es Abaya, he. It's the exact same thing. In other words, like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, it would be a good get. Like the Chachamim, it wouldn't be a good get. It's the same thing. Going out to Rakia and eating chazah is the exact same thing. You can't do either. Rava Amar, Efsha de Achla, Velakya. It's possible to what? Eat and get malchus. So there's a difference between a physical impossibility and halachic impossibility. Says Rava, in this case, to fill the Tanai, it'll be a get. In other words, this Tanai is a good Tanai. So it's not similar. So Machlokes of Yehuda ben Tema and the Chachamim are not in this case. In this case, he was saying that Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema would disagree. He would say that he would agree. He would say over here, the Chachamim would say over here, it is a good get. He said the Chachamim would say over here, it's a good get. Why? Because I can't go up to Shemayim, but I could eat chazah. That I eat in chazah, the Torah is going ahead and throwing an ari on top of me, but physically I could do it. So now, Abaya, when again the lashon above was klal Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Guys, 2 words: kizeh get, klal amru. Kizeh is mashma this and nothing else. Lemute. Klal is a lashon of riboy, including. So now, when Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema used those terms kizeh get, the miyut, and the lashon klal Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, says Abaya, klal, the word klal is lasliya basachazir, right? Any tanai that you can't fulfill in the end, in the beginning, you can't fulfill in the end, is not a tanai. So therefore, this basachazir, it would be a good get. It would be a good get. The Rabba kizeh is a get. In the case where you can't go up to Shemayim, Lamute basachazir, where it would be a good get. Lamute basachazir, where l'chayra it would be Lamute basachazir, that it would you have to fill the tanai in order to be a get. It's not a get. You have to fill the tanai to make it a get.
What's the klal then?
The klal is we'll see. Meisivei, harizagitech almanasha tivali leploini. This is your get almanas that you boiled ploini. This is your get almanas that you boiled ploini. Rashi says, guys, important Rashi, right? It says Rashi, bein al yidei znus, bein al yidei kedushin, right? In the suin. You can do it be'issa, you could do it beheta. Either one. Rashi says that. Either one. Okay.
Yeah, take my favorite before that.
Again, you have to say, of course. Bein bisnus, bein b'nesuin. Now, niskay matanai, how is a get, right? Niskay matanai, how is a get? The imlav ain't a get. This is you get on the condition that you don't have bia with my father or your father. We're not chayish, right? Now you just switched gears. Said this is your get almanas that you boil these two that you boil. This is that you boil this guy, correct? And then you said this is your get almanas that you do not go ahead and boil. Okay. Why did you say this is your get almanas that you boil your father or my father? Obviously, why? Because that wouldn't work. Says the Gemara. So why'd you switch? The ilu almanas that you boil abo levich like Gitani. So just like what you can eat basa chazer, so too you can't be boiled your father, right? So how do we see that a physical possibility that's possible, but if it's impeded by halacha, is what? Is what? It's not a good get. So therefore, this l'chayr is a riot. Bio says by basa chazer, it's not a good get, right? In other words, to create a good get, I had to say this is you get al manas that you boiled this person. I couldn't say this is a get al manas that you boiled your father and mother, because then it would, or your father-in-law, because then it wouldn't have been a good get. Correct? Why wouldn't it be a good get? Physically you can do it, because once halachically it's not permitted, then it's not a good get. So that's why I didn't say it. This is a riot to abaya, just like you can't eat basa chazer, you can't go ahead and live with your father-in-law. So the Rava Kasha, Amlach Rava, 1 second, Rava. In other words, I can hold strong. I can tell you basa chazer taka is a get, and over here it's not. I'll tell you why. Bishlem basa chazer esha de'achla v'lapya. It's totally what in her hands to do. Ploini nami efsha de'mechash de'bei b'moina. This is what you get almanas that you go ahead what, and you have beer with so and so. So if you give him money, enough money, he'll be mekadosh you. You give him enough money, he'll be mekadosh you, right? So in other words, Rashi said, "Bein business, bein kedushin." So look, let's be positive. Let's give a good spin on it, right? So in other words, that's possible for her to accomplish. So basa chazer, can she physically do? Good. Marrying this fellow, having beer with this fellow, could she physically do? Yeah. Father-in-law. What? It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. In other words, it's not in her hands to do. So I admit it's true. If you divorce on the condition that you boil this and this, even though luckily it's physically possible, but it's not going to happen because you have to convince your father-in-law. Over here, it's totally in her hands to control to go ahead and accomplish it. It's a nice distinction that Rav is making. Ela abba v'avich b'didok haima nehi de'iu avda isura abba v'avich mi avda isura. Good. So now, guys, we have a new din, right? We have a new din. L'rava, here's your answer, Meya. Klal lasuya abba v'avich. Why does the klal come to include? That if you give a get almanas that to go to Shemayim, that he says that you're just joshing. So also avich lavich, it's not possible to makayim it. Guys, what's this klal? Guys, what's the klal? This is your get on the condition you go to Shemayim. Why did Rava say let Rabbi Yehuda and Tema? Good get. Why? Physically impossible. This is your get almanas your boil your father or my father. Good get, right? Because even though it's physically possible, it's not going to happen. So therefore, that's what the klal comes to include, according to Rava. Kizeh, what about kizeh? Kizeh get? In that case, it's a get. Which case? To Shemayim, it's a get. L'me'utei what? Basa chazer, which is not a get. Why? Which again, basa chazer you could fulfill, right? You could fulfill. But l'abaya, klal asuya basa chazer. The klal comes to include basa chazer that it's not a good get. That it would be a good get. Excuse me, I keep on mixing up the two. No, excuse me. It's not. It's a good get. It would be a good get. Basa chazer and kezel l'mutei ploini and kezel l'mutei ploini. It's not a get until she boil. Why? Because she could go ahead. In that a ploini would not be a get because until she's boiled him, because it's in her hands to go ahead and give him money to makayim it. So until she goes ahead and until she goes ahead physically and accomplishes the tanai, it will not be a good get. Another question. This is your get on the condition that you eat basa chazer. And if she's a hedjit, meaning she's not a kohenis, almanasha toichli b'truma. Nazira, and she was nazira, almanasha tishti yayin, she should drink wine. Iskayim tanai, how is the get? Them lav ain't a get. Now, l'chora, who is this a raya to? Rava and a kasha and a baya. There's no difference. He's saying basa chazer openly, truma, all these cases. L'rava nicha, l'baya kasha. Later baya. Remember, this is since it's halachically not permitted. It's like going up to Shema. So again, Amlach Abaya, mi savis divya koli, hamani rabbanani. This is the rabbanan. But I hold like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. I hold like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Then in this case, what? in this case, well, that it would be wouldn't be a good get. In this case, it would not be a good get. And this price that you just quoted goes according to the Chachamim that says that it would be a good get. So here's the kasha of Meya and of Avi, Rabbi Avi. Typically, the masna mashakasa b'tayrahu. How could you give a get on the condition that you go ahead and eat chaza? Are you being masna mashakasa b'tayra? Again, and what does the Mishnah say in Daf Tzadik Dalid in? I'm giving you a source. The Marmokim. The Marmokim. The source is Daf Mitzia Daf Tzadik Dalid Omid Aleph. Right. It says masna mashakasa is Tanai Batel Ma'isa Kayin. So masna mashakasa b'tayrahu. Call masna mashakasa b'tayra Tanai Batel. The Tanai is Batel. So Amravada Breder Avika Ki Amina masna mashakasa b'tayra Tanai Batel. When do we say that? Ki Goin She'era Ksus V'Nasa. We know a man is mechuyev in three things. He has to feed his wife, he has to clothe his wife, and he has to live with his wife. B'shas oina. So now he gives a get, he gives kedushin and says, "I'm being kaddish in the condition that I don't have to fulfill these three conditions." The who ka'akar, he itself is being akar. Aval hacha over there by achilas chazer, ihi ka'akra. Right? Who's being akar? It she is. He's saying, "Don't eat it." This is your get, right? If I'm asked that you don't eat it. She's being oika by eating it, so it's her. So masna makasa b'kayra is when the one who made the condition, but when the one that didn't make the condition, then it's not. Fredrik Marakasha, 1 second. This doesn't make any sense. Maskalo Ravina, klum ka'akra ihi elo kiyimul today. Because she is only akar what because of his tanai. He's the one who put the ball in motion. So without him, she's right. It's no problem. So elo, what do we say? The kiyumi tanai diday. So ishtakich diyu ka'akar. So once she fulfills the tanai, who's akar it? He is. So again, if masna masa kashta b'tayra is he's being akar, good. Her action is doing it, but he's the one who caused that action to be akar. Ella amar avina ki amina masna masa kashta b'tayra tanai batul kigayin sheksus v'inasa devadei ka'akar. In other words, he has to give her food. If he doesn't, he's akar. He has to give her clothing. If he doesn't, he's akar. He has to live with her. If he does, he's akar. What's the tie over here? This is you get almanas that what you eat. What? You eat chaza. Good. Does she have to eat chaza? No, she doesn't have to. If she wants to be divorced, she has to. But if she doesn't have to, says the Gemara, "Aval hacha mi kama le sagil leachla le techab le tigrish." You hear Rabbi Avi? Over here, he's just making a tanai. So good, the tanai is connected to Torah, but he's not masna get. Masna masna kasab Torah is for sure you're over on it. So if he says, I don't have to give you this, and this, he's over on it. Over here, there's no guarantee you're going to be over on it. Don't eat, don't fulfill the tanai, don't eat, and you're good. Next case. Now, the next case to go back, guys, go back to Ayin Ches Amid Aleph. This is very geschmack because I know everyone has an art school has this. Right? It's not number one, it's number 2. Nah, it's not a shtickle. It's more than it's not a shtickle. It's not a shtickle, it's a shtickle. No. Yankel's good. But let's speak to Yankel.
I don't think it's nice to bag a shit in the hospital.
Right.
Bag to the shit.
Huh?
No, it's fun.
Anyway. says the Mishnah. Amar lo kinsi shtar chayv zeh. Take the shtar chayv. Oishem etzasu me'achorayv. Well, she finds it behind him. Remember, the guy said it's in his belt, and he's going to push his back out to her to him kind of in the sina. Chayra shivizar hugita. Ain't a get. It's not a get to what until he says what this is your get. It's not a get. This is your get. So now, here was the question: does he have to take it back and give it back and say it, or can you go ahead what and just say it? So look in the Gemara. This is machlokes. This is machlokes between Rabbi and Rav Shimon ben Elazar. This is machlokes. Like Rabbi said you don't have to take it back. Like Rabbi, you can go down a few lines. Good. So now, so guys, listen, outside, look at me, eye contact. You give over a star. You say, here, you're embarrassed to tell your wife you're divorcing her. You say, here's a star chayv. And then you say, Okay, say Schem L'Shalom. It doesn't work. She has to know she's getting a get. Good. Now, can I now tell her this is your get, or do I have to take it back and say this is your get? Like Rebbe, it's enough for me to tell her this is your get. Like Reb Shimon Elazar, no, it's not enough to tell her it's a get. You'd have to take it back and then give it back to her. Okay, so that's a smachloikus by Kintik Shtachleit. Now, what about us? What's the case over here by us? Go back to our Mishnah. Hamigarish, Pei Beis Amid Aleph. Pei Beis Amid Aleph. Hamigarish the Sishla, the Mishnah of Amala, Hariyam Muteras Koladim El Ploini, Revelez Amatucham Oisrin. It's not a good get. Kate said Yaseh, Yitlena Himena, you take the get back from her. Yasav Yitlena La, V'yomela, Hariyam Muteras Koladim. So the Chacham say you have to go ahead and take it back. Now, question. Is the Chachamim going to Shitas Rebbe of Shimon Elazar, but Rebbe would disagree? Or maybe Rebbe would agree in this case, you have to take it back. That's the question. Is this different than Kinsi Shtachleit? Is this different than Kinsi Shtachleit? Okay, so that's the discussion of our Gemara. I just told you a lot. That takes only 2 lines of Gemara. Okay, so Yasa Yitlena Himena, Mantana, who's the Tana of the Mishnah? Amachizkiya, it's of Shimon Elazar. It's of Shimon Elazar, because it says in the case of Kinsi Shtachleit, the Tanya of Shimon Elazar Omer, actually, let him be Allah. He has to go back and says he gave her a shtarchov, he would have to take it back and give it back to her. The Yom Gitin. So too, our Mishnah over here, that would mirror Reb Shimon Elazar, right? That in this case where you gave a get with that you Mishayah beget, you made it tanai that is according to Chachamim unacceptable. You'd have to take it back. But Rebbe would say you don't have to take it back. Just like Kinsi Shtarchov, you don't have to say it back. You have to say this is your get over here also. Says Rabbi Yochanan, that's Ravina. Rabbi, that's Chizkiah. Excuse me. Rabbi Yochanan said, Yochanan Amar afilu tema Rebbe. Can't even say it's Rebbe. No, it's Rebbe who says by Kinsi Shtarchov it's enough to say. Would say by here you'd have to take it back also. Dilchoin Amar. Dilchoin literally means your Talmud. Means Rashi brings guys the Gemara at the end of Baba Kama. It's Gemara, then the Baba Kama. Rav Kahana came up the bubble. You might remember this Gemara. Rav Kahana came up the bubble. He had a split lip. Rav Yochanan was such a zaken. His eyebrows covered his eyes, and he had like silver tongues that they would go to, and Rav Kahana was answering the questions. Rav Yochanan wanted to know who it was. They picked up his eyelashes. He saw him, and he thought Rav Kahana was laughing at him. He felt bad. So Kahana died, and then they told Rav Yochanan that Rav Kahana, he wasn't smirking, but it goes, so he davened and brought him back to life. Anytime you're like, okay, he davened and brought him back to life, okay. No big deal. Anyway, so he brought him back. So he was so impressed with the scholarship of Kahana who came from Bavel, he called him Dilchoinonli, your scholar, your Talmud of Bavel. So that was Rabbi Yochanan, who was the greatest Amoira in the early Amoraim, was the greatest Amoira in the history of the world. Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Rav, halachic Rabbi Yochanan, B'chol Makom. Rabbi Yochanan wrote the Yerushalmi. He was so Rav Kahana came from Bavel. He was very impressed. Dilchon Amar, shiny hacha. It's different over here. Hayil v'konata lifsol boy l'kavuna. Okay, outside guys. We had earlier that for a get can do 2 things. It can divorce you, or it can give you a shtickle shem gerusha, what we call reach haget, or as we say in yeshiva, a shmek from get. A shmek from get. Even though the Chachamim hold that this is not a good get to matri to the world, this is your get on the condition that you don't marry Shimon, it would be poiled to the extent that this woman would be asked to marry a kohen. It would be poiled to the extent that be asked to marry a kohen. So this Nesina did something. Why can't she start chayiv when she thought she was getting a chayiv? Rebbe says, of course you don't have to take it back. It didn't accomplish anything. It wasn't even a shmek from get. So what do you say? This is your get. It's good. Mashenkin over here, where you know you're getting a get, but there's a chesaron in the get because you're still mutter. You're asked to marry Shimon, right? So it's not a full-fledged get. It's a get to the extent that you won't be able to marry a kohen. Since it's poil that, Rebbe would be moided, says Rabbi Yochanan. You'd have to take it back, right, and give it again. So he'd be moided over here. Have a good evening to all.